I'm going to tell you how and why I'm marking up this Bible right now, the Dayspring Illustrating Bible, Psalms and Proverbs. But before I do that, I need to tell you the story of this shape. I'm Chad, I'm a pastor here in Louisiana, and I make videos about the Bible, the spiritual life, and the everyday going-ons of a pastor. And I'm kind of gonna cover all three of those today. I want to talk with you about this Bible, the Dayspring Illustrating Psalms and Proverbs Bible. You know, one of my favorite new Bibles I found. I've done a video before on why I love cheap journaling Bibles. I'll put that right here, and this totally is one of those videos. But it's also a story about mental health and a story about how studying the Bible evolves throughout the life of an idea. In my last video, I talked about the difference between reading the Bible and studying the Bible, and today we're going to go kind of deeper into the story of a specific study that I've been doing over the last couple of years, really. So this shape, and it looks really simple, but as I go back in my journal through 2021, I start to see this shape emerge from many different notes. And every time it really has the same purpose. It's narrating a transition. It's talking about past, present, and future to previous, current, and emerging from this idea of I'm okay, I'm not okay, to I'm great. And it's with this shape that I really want to tell you the story of what does it mean to consistently reflect in the study of Scripture and how this both informs and affects my ministry. I'm a bivocational pastor now. That started back this past summer after 15 years of full-time ministry in one church. And my primary job right now is actually a developer and a coach for other pastors. Now, I do the majority of this with a fantastic, amazing company called Passion and Partnership, but I also do some of it privately through my podcast, Productive Pastor. And it was late last year when I was developing out a workbook for a whole season of Productive Pastor about building in personal productivity systems that I also start using this shape to navigate this idea of developing, of draining, and of dealing these three types of tasks that we find. And while I see this shape in Scripture, I see this shape in other things I'm doing, one of the biggest places I began seeing it and wanting to narrate this shape, it came from the Psalms. And I saw another version of the shape, shaping up, and it was this. It was suboptimal, okay, and optimal, or it was this idea of protection, shadow of wings, of building reserves, of faithfulness, and then also this idea of a firm and spacious place. And I started keeping all these up in the back of my Bible, my 2022 Bible, the Turkey Buzzer, and just had a big, huge chart laid out that as I would read, I would make a mental note. I would make a pink highlight to say, hey, there's a note of this somewhere, and just stick that in there. But it was this idea of the spacious place that really began getting me thinking on this moving forward in a big way. And this idea of spacious place shows up several different times in Psalms, most notably in Psalm 31 and in Psalm 118. It says in Psalms 31, "You have not given me into the hands of the enemy, but have set my feet in a spacious place." And the idea of spacious place really gets drilled down to a basic level in chapter 26 of Genesis, which is another amazing chapter of Scripture. You see it prayed inside of revival services with the idea of redigging the wells of the Father. But there's also this bit in verse 22 of 26 where it talks about Isaac and his family finally having this space to thrive. There being every single thing they need to be at their best. And that absolutely fit into this way that the shape was kind of informing some things as part of this. And it's another reason why I love word study in the Bibles. I'm doing all of this research and study personally. At this point in time, it's showing up in a few things, but it's just kind of this weird private closet I have going on. And I'm at a training event with the folks I work with in Passion and Partnership. And one of our other coaches is doing this devotional and teaching session. And she's using, and I know I've picked this book up a lot lately in videos, but she's using Brueggemann's little book, The Spirituality of the Psalms, which I had never read before, never heard before at the time. But I became just like entranced by what she was doing and teaching, and I'm drawing things out and taking notes like I always do, and the shape begins to appear again with the way Brueggemann sorts the Psalms of orientation, disorientation, and reorientation. And at this time, I end up popping in a marker during these moments of transition of control and of agency. Here's a picture of my notes I sent to Peg Aldridge, who runs PIP, to say, hey, this is really, really interesting stuff going on. This is where I'm thinking about this. So I ordered the little book. And I spend the next 6 months still privately going through the Psalms in my daily prayers and daily office, that sort of thing. But in light of Brueggemann's work and in light of this big chart I'm continuing to develop at the back of the Turkey Buzzard jet. And what I've not shared in this video so far is I was also emerging out of a really, really difficult mental season. And I was climbing out of burnout. And this summer, the opportunity began to emerge to actually create a course to help other pastors develop defense mechanisms against burnout and to learn what it means to overcome it, to use Clifton Strengths as part of this work. And I end up seeing just the melding of a bunch of the work that I have done over the last couple of years begin to emerge together. And the shape absolutely had to be part of it in multiple ways, and it is. And so all that's like this explanation of the shape, but I hope you heard how studying the Bible means sometimes taking years to think through things and to engage with it, because you know it's informing the way that you think and do so many other things. For me, it meant getting out the deep language tools. It meant cross-referencing my Bible. It meant reading other books and looking through other sorts of things and assembling all of it together into this cohesive idea. And because I'm going to use the Psalms as part of this course on burnout, which isn't firmly named yet, all of this work is actually like coming into some final state. And so this is what I'm doing with the Illustrating Bible right here. So I've segmented off what the passages that Brueggemann names as the disorientation, orientation, reorientation. And I have my big, huge chart from the back of the Turkey Buzzard with the whole I'm not okay, I'm great, which is also the idea of protection, building up faithfulness, and then the spacious place. And each one of those categories, it's just getting a color from the same little colored tabbies that I use all of the time. And I'm marking up that psalm and saying, okay, this psalm belongs to this reading. And I also have a few little colors I'm going to use to mark up individual verses inside of my psalm categorizations, because you end up seeing all three of these phases sometimes in the middle of the same psalm. In fact, Psalm 31 could be an example psalm for the whole shape and idea and all the things that means. And I'm going through, and I've shared this before, the Field Guide for Daily Prayer. There's a 30-day Psalter reading plan in the back of this where you're going through morning and evening. And so what I did is I'm going to go the rest of the year, I'm going to do all my Psalms readings in this Bible using this plan, marking up in the ways I need to mark it up. And then I've also developed out a big Notion database for me to go deeper and to write in more notes and to do some of the heavier research that might come up out of this, because all of this Psalms work is going to actually get developed into a devotional plan that will go alongside of this burnout course, which will be a 3-month course, have a 3-month plan, and it's going to use the idea of moving through the shape, but also these moments of transition and the way that Brueggemann talks about it, the way that others talk about it, using language of control and agency, using resources and tools from Clifton Strengths to have all of this, but to also have a deeply devotional component to this course. Now, I hope you saw a couple of different things in this video. The first is this: Bible study can take a long time. Now, not the level of time you devote to it like daily when you sit down. It can take time then, but Bible study can also stretch out across years. This started almost 2 years ago, and because of my odd obsessions with notating and writing things down, I've been able to keep most of the information easily within my grasp. The second thing is this: pastors. We need deep things informing us. There is this temptation of the Sunday sermon where we're only spending time preparing for the Sunday, preparing for Sunday, preparing for Sunday. And that means that we are never spending any extended amount of time in Scripture just going deep into the things of God. But I think it's important for us to have a few deep wells that we're drinking from. This whole project at its beginning was one that was deeply personal and deeply valuable to me as I was going through a bunch of stuff. And us having these deep wells to drink from, it will inform our congregations in many different ways, in our casual conversations, in our intentional discipleship, in our preaching. But these personal things in Scripture that are affecting us first, and if we will let them affect us, we will see those bear fruit into the future. And then the third thing is this: don't discount hunches. I've had these little hunches hit my journal and run for years, and sometimes they peter out. But call me crazy, I think sometimes we have these little ideas and these things that can motivate us and drive us for years in our own personal worship and relationship to God. And they need to be worked out fully in our personal life because God has given them to us, and God needs these things to be made public and to be there for the common good and other things. And sometimes these things are supposed to go out into the wild, just like this weird little shape that I started using in my journal as I was processing heartache and loss and frustration and all of those things. And this shape isn't even the most exciting one to me. One day I'm going to need to tell you the story of this shape, but we're not there yet. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. And come hang out in the comments. That's one of my favorite things about YouTube. But until the next video, I'm Chad, and I will see you later.